everyone, welcome to our very first live stream. I am Persis and this is Derek, and we are from Heritance Digital, and we are your hosts for today.
Now, as we see more and more viewers coming online, allow me to share a little bit more about Heritance. We are actually a digital company with the missions to impact generations through better values and wealth inheritance. And we do this by helping users to learn, to plan, and to execute their inheritance plans at the convenience of their home. Now, while waiting, we can also invite you to our website, www.heritance.org, and there are many exciting contents uploaded there for you to consume and read. Now, Persis, before we start, can you just share with us why this topic about trillion-dollar inheritance problems? Wow, it sounds mind-boggling.
Well, please don't be freaked out by that. We know none of us have $1 trillion or so many zeros in our bank account. So this is not only relevant to high net worth individuals, but to every single one of us. So what do we mean by $1 trillion inheritance question? $15 trillion in Asia is estimated to be passed through hands by 2030. So this is actually a phenomenon across all Asia, China, Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, all Asia, and this is a question that we want to address today.
Now, moving into our live streams, we are very honored to have two of our guest speakers this morning, and they are the Honourable Professor Gregory Slayton and Miss Audrey Tan from PlayMoolah. And unfortunately, because of COVID restrictions, they cannot be with us in person today. But thank God for technology, and they are actually with us in the chat room. In a while's time, they'll be in the chat room, and you can see them in the chat box. So feel free to throw your questions at them, whatever you want to ask, and they'll be there to answer all your queries. Very briefly, Professor Gregory Slayton. Okay, his work on fathering covers more than 10 Asian nations and spans over a period of more than 20 years. And he has authored this very awesome book, Be a Better Dad Today, and it's a worldwide bestseller. Okay, so more than just his fathering work, Professor Slayton is also a senior US diplomat. He's a CEO of many companies, a venture capitalist, and a philanthropist. But most important, he's a father of 4 loving children, and he's a friend of Heritance. Thank you, Gregory.
Yeah, and introducing our second speaker for today, Miss Audrey Tan is the Chief Dreams Architect and founder of PlayMoolah, a company that teaches financial emotional resilience for you to have a flourishing life. So without further ado, let's sit back and hear from Gregory himself as he shares insights on how we can pass on values and wealth to our next generation.
Good morning, Mr. Slayton. Thank you so much for taking the time to have this interview with us today. I remember around 5 years ago, I first met you at a lunch introduced by my dad. At that time, I was too young to recognize that I was sitting in the presence of a great man. However, I remember that you did not have any airs about you, but you were so down to earth and full of humility as you shared stories of your life and ministry. Today, we are in for a treat as we listen to wisdoms from the man himself regarding family and business. The Honourable Gregory Slayton is a professional and family success. He is the father of 4 amazing children, a successful venture capitalist and early investor of Google and Salesforce. He is a global philanthropist, Ivy League professional, senior US diplomat, and best-selling author of Be a Better Dad Today, and the founder of Fellowship of Fathers Foundation and Family First Global. Truly, Mr. Slayton embodies the 3 keys to successful inheritance: stewardship, sowing, and succession. Let us now turn to our first question for Mr. Slayton. I understand that you have an interesting family upbringing that leads you to become an authority in the subject of fatherhood in Asia. Can you tell us more?
Well, thank you, Persis. First of all, it's a great pleasure to be here with you. I appreciate what you all are trying to do at Inheritance. I have known your partner, Derek, for quite a long time, a really good man, and I really salute you as you try to help families navigate the inheritance path, not just about money, but about values, about what's important to our family. Those things are extremely important and easy to get it wrong. So yes, my family background, very briefly, is unusual. I was born into a kind of typical, upper middle class American family. But unfortunately, my father, who had many, many problems, abandoned us when I was fairly young, and my brothers, I'm the oldest of 3 brothers. And he actually wrote us a letter saying, boys, I'm leaving. I never want to hear from you again. I never want to see you again. I never want to have anything to do with you for the rest of my life. Very, very difficult. I mean, just heartbreaking. But right around that same time, a Chinese family moved into my town in Port Washington, New York, North Shore of Long Island. And I had never met a Chinese person before. They had a son, Ken, my age. He came to school. He was in my class. And even though we looked different, we talked different, we had a different background, but we became best friends in a matter of just a few months. That family ended up being my kind of like my adopted family. And I spent a great deal of time with them. They were a wonderful family. I developed a great respect for Chinese people and Chinese civilization. They were instrumental in my life. I ended up going to an Ivy League school with their help. And then I ended up getting a Fulbright scholarship to Asia. And it really did change my life in many ways.
Wow, that's so amazing. So you mentioned that your Chinese family and even your Chinese father made an impact in your life. So do you see any of his personal values passed down to you that made you a successful businessman growing up?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the number one most important thing was that they passed on to me their spiritual values. My American family was a secular family. We didn't go to church. We didn't have any kind of spiritual foundation. And the problem for that is that if you're a thinking person, if you're at all kind of philosophical, you realize that the big questions of life cannot be answered, right? And that was a real problem for me. Like, wow, why am I here? What's the purpose of life? What's right and wrong? All these questions, there's just no answer other than, well, I think so. That's not a very solid answer. So my Chinese father, he said, hey, Gregory, he gave me a copy of the Bible. And I said, I still remember my answer. I think I was like 13 years old. I said, Papa, thank you very much. But no one believes the Bible anymore. It's full of old wives' tales and made up stories, because that's what my family had always told me. My Chinese father was very wise. He said, Gregory, have you ever read the Bible for yourself? Of course, he knew the answer was no, right? He said, well, this book is a bestseller in the world by a factor of 10. And I understand that much of Western civilization is built on this word, on the Bible, including the whole concept of the rule of law. So don't you think you should read it? I said, yeah, that's really a good idea, Papa. I would like to. He said, well, great. Your brother Ken will help you understand. This is the Old Testament. This is the New Testament. Anyway, they were very gracious, very kind. And it was through their love and their prayers and their introducing me to the Bible that I became a Christian 7 years later when I was a senior at Dartmouth College. Took me a long time, but I finally got there.
Thank you for sharing your personal story with us. Now, not only are you a very successful in your business and career as a senior US diplomat, but you have 4 lovely children. What would you consider your greatest success in your family?
Well, I'm just thankful to have a family. We did our best, but let me just say my blood father was not a good man. Fei Cheng Buhao. And I'm sorry to say that, but he drank way too much. He used drugs. He did a lot of stuff that he shouldn't have done. And frankly, now looking back on it, the truth is he should have been in jail. But anyway, he died, and I forgive him, and, God bless him, and pray for his soul, and that's all you can do, right? But I'm thankful to have, 4 wonderful kids. My wife has worked really hard to bring up the kids, and we're just really thankful. I mean, our eldest daughter is at Harvard. She's doing her JD MBA. So that's about the highest degree you can get in America, right? JD MBA from Harvard. It doesn't get any higher than that. She was an honors graduate of an Ivy League undergraduate. So is my son, Christian. Our eldest son is also doing a master's in psychology at Harvard. And our 2 younger kids are just wonderful. Our youngest is a rising junior at the University of Chicago, another fabulous academic institution. And most importantly, they're really wonderful, wonderful young adults, just wonderful. And that is a beautiful thing, and I'm super thankful for that.
Wow, it's so amazing to see them successful in their lives and in their character. So what are some guiding principles that you can share in stewarding such a large family?
Well, I want to be humble about that, because I feel like, man, I made so many mistakes. I was just talking with my wife tonight about something that I said, man, I wish I had done this when the kids were younger and I didn't, anyway. So, but the important thing in life is not to look back and regret, but to say, okay, I still got a chance, right? Even if my eldest is 30 and my youngest is 20. Now, thank God they're all doing extremely well. And I'm still their dad. And just today I took out my middle son, who's a wonderful young man. Took him out for his birthday lunch, just he and me, just some dad's father-son time. And we had a great meal. He had some things he really wanted to talk about, some deep things, and that's good, and I thanked him for that. And we just had a wonderful time. So this is one of my messages to dads. Sometimes guys think, oh, it's too late, I blew it. No. If you're still alive, which obviously you are, and your kids are still alive, thank the Lord, it's not too late. You can have a positive impact on your children, no matter what time it is in your life.
That's really encouraging. So let's switch our focus now from the family to the business. So, Mr. Slayton, you are also a distinguished visiting professor of Peking University and Harvard Business School. You gave a keynote address at Singapore Conference on Successful Fatherhood in 2013 on successful leadership on the business front and the home front. Now, there is a saying that in family businesses, that wealth does not last across 3 generations. Can you share your observation on this statement? And what are some contributing factors to wealth attrition in families today?
Yes, excellent question. Now, Persis, you asked me for insights about fatherhood in the last question, and I'm afraid that's such a great question. There's so much. I just want to say that I did write this book, Be a Better Dad Today. It's around the world now. It's in 20 languages, including simplified and traditional Chinese. But I'm happy to, if any of your viewers would like to get this book or whatever, we're happy to make it available. So that's all I want to say. I'm not trying to sell it. We give all the royalties to the work of the Lord. So it doesn't matter to me whether people buy it or not. But I have found that it's helpful, and the book is sold many hundreds of thousands of copies. Maybe it's even around 1 million now. So hopefully it's a blessing to dads. And we have a book for moms and a book on marriages and stuff. Anyway, if any of these are helpful to your people, you let me know, we'll get you some copies. But to your question about the 3rd generation, that saying has been around a long time. And it's interesting because it's both in English and Chinese. So that's not just a cultural thing, right? That is a problem in the English-speaking world. That is a problem in the Chinese-speaking world. So that tells you something. And to my mind, that tells you how important it is for moms and dads to pass down rock-solid values and not just money. You pass down money to the kids without values, without understanding the importance of hard work, without understanding the importance of integrity, of honesty, of guanxi, of friendship, keeping your word. We all know so many stories. I know in Singapore, there are so many stories of the kid getting the beautiful car, the Porsche, and he's had it for 2 days and he wraps it around the telephone pole, and and those stories are in the United States too. Spoiled rich kids who had way too much money and way too little involvement from mom and dad sitting down and showing them, not just in word, but in deed, that this is what's important in our family. What's important is integrity, keeping your word, working hard, being a person a trustworthy person, those kind of things, being loyal to the family. You want your kids to get along and to love each other and help each other. And that doesn't happen by accident. You've got to plan ahead, right? And that's one of the biggest mistakes that wealthy families make. The patriarch thinks, I'm going to live forever, no reason to plan ahead. And I'm not just talking about Chinese families, although that is very common amongst wealthy Chinese families, it's common in American families as well. In fact, a very wealthy guy, the head of one of the largest publishers in America, just died unexpectedly last week, and he left a complete disaster amongst his descendants. I've spoken too long, but I hope that's at least somewhat of an answer to your question.
Yes, definitely. So I think you mentioned the importance of parents passing down rock-solid values to the next generation. So are there some key values that you think should be passed down in every family?
I certainly do. And a lot of those values for me come from the Word of God, because that's not just what I think or, what my generation thinks. Those are principles that have been tried and true principles for 3,000 or 4,000 years, for a long, long time. And it's interesting that a lot of those values are also echoed in the Confucian tradition. In fact, Confucius himself says a strong nation is built on strong families, right? And that's certainly true. So, what are the things that are basic to strong families? I've already mentioned, being a person of your word, being loyal, right? And the Bible talks over and over about loyalty, faithfulness, love, right? Those are key for a family, right? You got to love each other. You got to be loyal to each other. You got to be faithful to the family, right? So those are very important things. Being trustworthy, right? A person of integrity. I mean, it's there's a lot of people today who say, yeah, you can trust me. I'm honest, I'm honorable, but they're not, right? And so it's important that our family stands for something, right? That our family doesn't just stand for making a quick buck at any opportunity. Our family stands for integrity, for being people of our word, people that you can trust. I think that's very, very, very important. And that's something, again, it's not just saying it as the dad, but it's showing it, right? Trying to show that, hey, this is the way we live, and this is important to our family, both in word and in deed.
Well, it has been a very insightful interview. And let's wrap up with a final personal question. So if success is measured by what we accumulate, significance is measured by what we leave behind. How do you plan for your family to succeed both your business and life values?
Right. Well, I would actually disagree with the definition of success. I do not think that success is what you accumulate. In fact, one thing I guarantee to all your listeners, 100% rock solid guarantee, when you die, you will not say to yourself, boy, I wish I spent more time at the office. Or darn it, I wish I spent more time accumulating more stuff. You will not say that. No one says that. Everyone says, boy, I wish I'd spent more time with my loved ones. I wish I spent more time with my family, with my closest friends. So to me, that's success. And that's what we teach in Family First Global, our family nonprofit. That's what we teach in, these are all the same book, but that's what we teach in Be a Better Dad Today and the mom's book and the marriage book. And by the way, we've got an operation in Singapore, a nonprofit called Family First Singapore. And we'd be happy to work with you guys in any way that makes sense, because we want to get out the message that success is not about accumulating stuff. Yes, we have to be successful in the workplace. We have to provide for our family. We have to. That's no doubt. And we talk about that. I'm a Harvard Business School, McKinsey guy who, by God's grace, has done pretty well, right? You have to be successful on the work front. But if you're successful on the work front and you're a failure on the family front, you're a failure. That's just the reality. I know from Silicon Valley, a lot of billionaires, but their first wife hates them and their kids despise them. And maybe some of their kids are on drugs or committed suicide or something. I mean, I don't care how much money you have. I don't care. That's a fail. And let's not let that happen. And then thirdly, what's your personal legacy, right? What are you known as among your friends, right? You can have a lot of money, but if the people who know you think that guy was a jerk, he always cheated people, he lied, he didn't keep his word, what good is that? Right? So I think there are three pillars of real success: having a strong family, having a good legacy, and yes, being secure financially. And I think that defines success.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking with us today, Mr. Slayton. On behalf of Heritance Digital, we wish you all the very best in your family, business, and ministry. God bless.
Yes, thank you very much. Pleasure to be with you. Please give my best to your partners and all the best for you and your firm going forward.
Thank you.
Wow, that was a very insightful interview with Gregory. So thank you very much, Gregory. Now, Persis, as I was listening into his this sharing, there are three key takeaways that I took back today. Number one, it's very important for any parents to pass down rock solid values to their children beyond just money. And in fact, if you just pass down money without the values, it's a complete disaster. Number two, loyalty, faithfulness, and love are the key building blocks of any family. And number three, the three pillars of real success are having a very good family, building a very strong family, leaving a very good legacy, and being secure financially. In fact, as I was saying just now, I've read Gregory's book, Be a Better Dad Today, and those of you who wants to grab a copy, you can just indicate your interest in the feedback form at the end of the live stream.
Yes, that's right. I've learned so much from the interview as well. So just a gentle reminder, if you would like to address any questions to Gregory or Audrey, please feel free to ask your questions in the YouTube chat. And I see that some people have already asked questions, and Gregory and Audrey will be very glad to respond to you. So now moving on to our second speaker for the day, Miss Audrey Tan is the Chief Dreams Architect and founder of PlayMoolah, a company that advocates for the building of financial emotional resilience for you to have a flourishing life. So let's sit back and enjoy Audrey's sharing as she shares on how parents can build financial emotional resilience in their children. Over to you, Audrey.
Hi, everybody. Really excited to be here with all of you today. And today we'll be covering a little bit about how we can build positive financial emotional resilience in our children and our youth. A little bit about myself. I'm Audrey, the Chief Dreams Architect of PlayMoolah, and a little bit about myself and how I ended up doing this work that we're doing here at PlayMoolah. So many years ago, I was in the United States and found myself in the middle of the global financial crisis. And that was really when it was the first time as a student overseas when I was managing my first paycheck and didn't realize how little I knew about money. And coming from a society like Singapore, we're often taught to save, to budget, but that was perhaps all there was it. It didn't go beyond investing. It didn't go beyond how to allocate my money in a way that would allow it to grow, to create passive income. And I very quickly realized that what my parents had taught me had been limited. And school, on the other hand, was something that didn't quite take care of this aspect of financial emotional resilience, or some would call it financial literacy, financial education. So as I've grown into adulthood today as a young adult myself, I've come to learn so much about money in a self-directed way. Having said that, why is all these things important, right? What was the inspiration to start? One of the things I realized also was that if we could begin to pass on these good habits to children at a young age, how much more would they be able to cultivate and to role model from their parents as they grow up? The other thing that I learned in my own journey was that perhaps parents themselves need to learn these good habits in our own lives. We realized that we were not taught this from our grandparents, our parents, and therefore being able to equip ourselves to learn to go beyond the basics of saving, of mindful spending, was something that we could see beyond to look at money as a tool for stewardship, as a tool and an opportunity to demonstrate the values and the lessons that matter to us as a family. So why does all these things around money matter for us in our society today? We realize that for many people, financial stress has become a major source of distraction at work. Employees, and up to 58% of them, say that they're stressed about their finances. And what is the impact of this? Out of this data that we found, 63% in a recent BlackRock survey found that these were the young people, the millennials, who were struggling with money at the workplace, struggling to make sense of their finances, their financial decisions. And as good stewards of our money, this is really a big component about ensuring that we equip our young with the right skills, the right values to build good money relationship in their own lives, and also to pass this on to their future generation of children and grandchildren. A key thing that we found is that financial emotional resilience and good discernment of behavioral practices around money actually has an intergenerational impact. And thinking about the impact that it has in our lives, and actually going on to the ripple impact that it has in our families, and later on in societies as well. What we at PlayMoolah do really is to build positive financial emotional resilience for a flourishing life. And at a very fundamental level, it's to ask ourselves this question: when we have all the money in the world, and when we have the money that we've earned, how do we actually steward this for a flourishing life? What would a flourishing life, an abundant life look like for families? Have we stopped and think and asked ourselves, what is this flourishing life that we as a generation of people are seeking? So for me, my own flourishing life really resonates from a place that money is a tool that enables dreams to come true. And when I think about what a flourishing life means for me, it's about being a good steward of my own daily financial decisions and daily decisions in a way that allows me to be able to spend time and energy and to choose where I put my time to. For me, a flourishing life is really one where my relationships are healthy and flourishing and in order. That money now becomes a tool to fuel these relationships and to give me space and time. And anyone's flourishing life can be very different from one or the other. We are made in a different way, we're made in a unique way. So the idea here really is to begin to stop and think, what would a flourishing life and a flourishing family, a flourishing generation look like as we begin to steward the decisions and the resource that we have been given? For us, we've worked with up to almost 100,000 people around the world since we've started, and our main mission is really to impact families and corporates at the same time. And an independent study that was done, every dollar that's been invested into our programs yields a $3.18 social return on investment. So what will we be covering today? One of the key things is really around what are some of the ways that we can build positive financial and emotional resilience. How do we begin to understand money narratives in our lives? What are they? And how do we begin thinking about habits of mind? And I'll speak a little bit about some of the upcoming camps that we have as well for our children and youth. So we see financial resilience as defined as the ability to adapt, change, and modify our positive emotions and daily practices and our actions in our financial decisions. So the good news here is that some of our relationship to money, how we've experienced dealing and navigating money, sometimes perhaps not so positive in our own experiences, seeing our parents or people in our family fight about money, or money being a source of tension at home. This is really where we can begin to develop the muscles and the skills to change and to adapt, right? Some of these behaviors as well as emotions that we attach to money. And what does this mean for us? There is actually a biological response when we as human beings begin to react in our daily lives. Case in point around money, right? When we feel that we need to go on retail therapy or to feel like we need to go out and spend money to feel good because we've not had a very good day, that's really where we are activating our amygdala, also known as our lower brain, right? So that's a part of the limbic system where we go into impulse mode. We don't think, we don't stop, we don't pause, right? We just go in there and then we just do the next best thing, right? That we think our body or that our mind, our heart needs. What we've learned as a biological response is that we can engage the prefrontal cortex, the upper brain, to pause and think and to ask the questions at the points of purchase. Do I need this right now? Is this a need or want? Can I wait 10 days before I decide to buy this item? Can I rationalize in that moment just to pause and to ask myself if this is something that I absolutely need or want? So having the ability to pause and to discern, right, the value of discernment, having thought through how we can sieve through the noise and the clutter to operate at a place of moderation, some of these virtues that we can put into practice. These are concrete strategies and skills that our young people can begin to cultivate. And if you think about this is not just related to money, right? When we feel the need to binge eat because we're having a bad day, can we pause in that moment to just ask ourselves, what is the more moderate choice or the discerning choice that we can take at that moment? One of the key things we learned as well, that as society may really triumph and prioritize things like financial capital, social and intellectual capital, we learn in permaculture that the definitions of wealth can be broadened to these 8 forms of capital, not just around money, right? That the measures of wealth, the measures of success is really around this holistic view where there is spiritual capital, experiential capital, material capital, social capital, even cultural and living capital. And when we begin to reframe these aspects of money, right, and the aspects of these resources that we have in our stewardship, we then begin to rethink how we take care and how we make decisions around this. And when we show this to young people get very excited, right? Because suddenly the measures of wealth and success is not measured by one singular metric. But again, in permaculture and with Mother Nature, that's where we can learn from a more holistic view of what the value of wealth will look like for our generation and next generation. Some of the key aspects we learned around money narrative. And this is a very critical part of the journey of discernment around our money relationship, our money behaviors. Essentially, we inherit a lot of narratives and beliefs from our parents and our grandparents, right? Our forefathers around money. You might have heard the saying that money is evil, money is a source of all conflict. But if we begin to pause and rethink for ourselves, what are some of these beliefs that we've heard that we can begin to rewrite, right? Can we begin to see that money is a tool for a flourishing life? Money is an enabler to create impact in the world? These are new narratives that parents can begin to rethink as we begin to form the vocabulary that we say to our children. You know, Maria Montessori often says that the absorbent mind, right, is really when a child is listening and absorbing all the things that mommy and daddy are saying. And very often with children, our parents are really our world, our hero. So when we think about the narrative and the vocabulary and the words that come out, there's a saying that goes, right, words create worlds. Words can tear down, words can raise up and affirm and edify. So even the way in which we communicate about money, right, some of these beliefs that we have that our children may be unconsciously picking up at the same time. What are some of these narratives that we need to relook and rethink as we begin to shape this positive relationship to money for our children? And also with PlayMoolah, we see that money has a holistic view that is not just around saving or earning, or saving, spending, earning. It's also about giving as well as investing. So when we think about this in the 5 pillars of money, then suddenly when we think about the asset allocation and the delivery of money, we can begin to see it in a more complete and holistic way, right? When we think about giving to causes that we care about, giving to tithing, this is something that we in our family have the conversations about. That it's not just wealth accumulation for its own sake, right, for our own family, but how do we discern between what we can give in the world to causes that we truly care about, as well as thinking through how we can actually be good stewards of what we've been given. And so we take young people through a journey around some of these 5 pillars of money. And again, you know, as this is relevant for children and our youths, this is incredibly relevant even for us as parents, as adults. And finally, for me, what are the 3 actionables from today? The first is really to adopt a growth mindset to learn together with your child. What this really means is that, you know, we as parents, as adults, are not cast in stone, even in our own literacy around money, right? We're constantly evolving. The next stage of, legacy planning, of how do we steward our wealth and our inheritance for the next generation, the values in which we would actually transfer to our children and to pass on. We first and foremost become role models, right? And that's really where when we adopt a growth mindset, right? It's like there may be questions that children ask us that we don't have answers to, but that gives us an opportunity to learn together with our children. So it's taking a mindset that's much like a sponge, where we can constantly grow and learn together with our children. The second thing also is, there's a saying that goes, you can't give what you don't have. So from a place of what you already have and what you know, and as you learn and acquire new knowledge and skills, we can practice what you teach. Oftentimes children role model from us. They learn from us. They see how we behave, and they're almost like little replicas of us. The third and the final thing I would say is having the intentional language of money, right? So having aspects of what we call these habits of mind that we cultivate. And this includes cultivating through the language of virtues, right? Being discerning in the way in which we dialogue about money. How can we practice prudence? How can we practice temperance and moderation in our choices that we make? That doesn't just apply only to money, but to our food choices, to our beverage consumption, and even to different areas of our life, right? Around our nutrition as well. So this is where we draw the connection to different things in our daily lives. And finally, I will leave you with this one last thing, that for a holistic life, in caring about money and money resilience, and even just resilience in our lives, these are the key areas that we need to take into consideration. And because money is so pervasive in our lives, we end up having to take care of our mental, physical, spiritual, social, and emotional aspects. So caring about these different aspects of our well-being of our children, our young people, even ourselves as parents, as spouses, is a very key component of our journey around financial and emotional resilience. And about me, and if you like, or feel free to be in touch to share a little bit more about what's happening with PlayMoolah. In November and December, we will have our PlayMoolah Kids and Youth Financial Emotional Resilience Camp. This is done online, and we've done many runs now that has been really engaging for our children. So for our kids below the ages of 12, we will do the camp schedules around the future of work and money, the future of entrepreneurship, the future of investing. We also take care of wellness through the arts for the children, which they love. And this is also something that we're doing for an early bird that's actually happening now at this time. And so if you sign up at playmoolah.com/kids, you'll get access to this today. One of the things we found with parents asking us also about entrepreneurship is allowing our kids to solve problems in the world, to see money as a consequence of value creation. So there is also a extension of the modules that we have around this PlayMoolah Entrepreneurs Club Challenge for children. And also for our young people, our youths between the ages of 13 and up, we have and we cover age-appropriate content around the future of work and money, future of entrepreneurship as well as investing, getting our young people to be mindful of how they spend their money, but also to use money as a tool for a flourishing life. So we hope that you will join us in this very eventful camp in November and December, and we look forward to welcoming you. And if you have more questions around this, please feel free to get in touch. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Audrey. I found that session so insightful. And as a soon-to-be mother myself, I am even inspired to send my kids to your camp in future. So Derek, similar to you, I also have 3 main takeaways from Audrey's sharing today. First, the transfer of value starts within the family. Next, it is never too early to start teaching your children the value of money. And thirdly, when you teach your children the value of money and financial emotional resilience, they are then able to pass it on to their future generations as well.
Yes, indeed, how true. Now we want to thank Professor Gregory and Audrey once again for their very insightful sharing. We have now come to Q&A. Yeah, Q&A. I'm sure all of you have lots of questions. I can already see many questions coming in through the chat room. So the first question, let me go back. Okay, the first question asked by Lai Sing. Okay, Lai Sing asked, and this question is addressed to Gregory. Where and how do you learn to be a good father when you mentioned that you do not have a good role model to follow? And yeah, Gregory has replied. So, okay. Yeah, many role models that he has, both historically and also in present. So people like Winston Churchill, Abraham Lincoln. Wow, I didn't know he learned all the way to Abraham Lincoln, like 150 years ago. Ronald Reagan, Sun Yat-sen, Hudson Taylor, and many others. Yeah, so actually all these historical figures, we have so much to learn from, right? And of course, in present days, he has his friends, mentors of him. He's like John McCain. Wow. Okay, so
Wow.
he learns from the best of the best, John McCain. So that's
Yeah, and also I think Gregory also addressed Clifford's question on how do you pass down values to your children. So Gregory actually answered that, Clifford, you can talk the talk and walk the walk. And in essence, I presume that means that live out what you preach. And the power of positive repetition is huge. So keep at it day after day, be consistent, ensure that your kids are in environments that support what you are teaching them, good church, good school, good friends, and pray for them every single day because there is power in prayer.
right. And Clifford also asked Audrey, out of so many types of wealth, which one are the most important? Like which ones do we have to pay attention on a daily basis to our young ones as early as possible? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Audrey, represented by PlayMoolah here, she said that spiritual capital is one of the priorities for her. So it will be great for families to have conversations and discern which is the most important to them. And I think we do have further questions for Audrey by Jessie. So is there a specific age you would recommend for kids to start learning about money? I think Audrey replied, yeah.
As soon as possible. Yes. So as soon as our children are curious and begin to ask questions about money, because this is the right teaching moment and parents can start having conversations and around their children.
Yeah, I mean, Derek, you have 4 children of your own, right? I mean, do you recall when your children actually started asking you about money matters?
When they think that $5 kids meal is very cheap, for $5, they think that, oh, it's so cheap, Daddy. And that's when I have to tell them, oh, $5 equates to how much.
Yeah, I guess you may be surprised that your children actually understand and think about money earlier than you think.
Right. Yeah, we have another question to Audrey.
This
is from
MK Yoon.
MK. Yeah, he asked Audrey, any age limit to your programs? I presume you are referring to the camps.
Yes.
Teenagers needs these too.
Yeah, I guess we can wait for Audrey to type her response. And I think Lai Sing also did ask her a question. Hi Audrey, I feel people have become more selfish these days, and it can be seen in the way that we spend our resources such as time or money. So how do we change that in our family? So I think we can give Audrey some time as well.
Yeah, Audrey has replied.
Yeah, she has just replied.
Yeah, so like saying perhaps answer anyhow else can we be loving and practice generosity in a different way?
As stewards, how will we use our resources? Yes.
Yeah, so you all can, of course, read all this in our chat box. All these Q&As are inside. Okay, so...
And yes, Audrey does have other programs for teenagers as well. And actually, at the end of this live stream, we will be rolling slides. So you can feel free to sign up for these camps and find out more information about PlayMoolah's camps.
Yeah, and back to Lai Sing's question, where did Gregory learn about parenting and fatherhood when he doesn't have any role model to follow? So Gregory has replied, he studied fatherhood on 5 continents over a period of more than 20 years, and he has learned so much from great dads all around the world. So you don't really need to have your own dad. Some of us don't have to have a good dad to learn from, unfortunately, but we have many other dads, other friends, other mentors to learn from, and that's what Gregory's reply is.
Yes, that's right. And I think Audrey has further elaborated on her camps. they actually have programs from 7 to 18 for teenagers as well.
Right. Did we miss out any question?
I think that's all that's in the chat box for now, but please feel free to keep them coming in.
Yeah. At this point, I would like to also thank you not just for the speakers for giving us their precious time. In fact, if you haven't known, Gregory is all the way at Dallas, Texas right now, and it's 9:45 at this PM, his time zone. So we really want to thank him for making time to grace our occasion. And also we want to acknowledge our venue sponsor, DM360, for this wonderful studio that we can do our live stream from. Thank you, DM360.
Thank you, DM. All right, so while we are waiting for more questions to come in, we can introduce a bit more about who we are at Heritance.
Sure.
So Heritance is a company that our vision and mission is to impact generations through better values and wealth inheritance. So you can look forward to our app in the coming months, next month, and we will have many, many interesting features such as Tribe for you to connect your loved ones, memory time capsules, and smart bequest.
Right, we're also launching our first beta app next month, and we are very excited. So we are also inviting all of you to sign up for the beta, to be beta users through our website or in the next few slides that's coming up. You just need to scan the QR code, and as a beta user, you'll be entitled to our highest tier of app membership and platform membership that is worth $169, and you'll be part of the heritage journey to help us improve the app as we go along.
That's right. So we actually see a question directed at Gregory by Clifford. So Professor Slayton, how do you find Asian values and Western ones different? So I think we can give some time for Gregory to type his reply. And Nyapster actually asked Derek a question. So Derek, share more about your 4 kids. How do you teach them values consistently?
Okay, about 6 years ago, I naively type out the core values of the Liang family, and wow, I'm so proud. I listed out so many Bible verses from all over, and I paste them on the wall as a visual reminder of what sort of families I want to build up on. So I thought a visual reminder is very good. But guess what? They never take a look at it. They just walk around the piece of wall like it's transparent. So I realized it's really not so much of what we want in our mind and what we want. It's really like what our brother Gregory mentioned, is to walk the walk and talk the talk. It's really to live up through our actions and our deeds, not so much by our words or what is printed on the wall or on the poster. So I guess being consistent is really a daily affair. It's nothing external. It's more of what we do and what we say.
That's right. Well, Lysing actually has a question for both of us.
Okay.
What is the goal of Heritance? So would you like to address that question?
Yeah, we actually have a mission, and our mission is really to impact the generations, especially in Asia, where we really believe in values. So we really want to impact the Asian generations from generation to generation, preserving their family harmony and preserving their wealth. So how to do that? We believe is through a better way of passing down values and wealth inheritance. And we do this, we know that it's a digital age. We do it through a digital app, and it's not just an app, but it's a platform where users can learn, they can consume all sorts of relevant information and content. And then with the app, they can self-direct. It will be a family self-directed way of planning for themselves. So we want to pass back the mandate back to the hands of the families to do this very important task right, so that from generation to generation, they'll be blessed.
That's right. So if you want to find out more about what we do at Heritance, please check out heritance.org, heritance.org. So I think Gregory has actually responded to Clifford's earlier question on the difference between Asian and Western values.
Yeah, and his answer was actually there are many, many similar values in the West and in the East. Sometimes we thought that we are very different from each other, right? But actually, it's not so true from Gregory's reply.
Yeah, and Gregory also said that both emphasize the importance of honesty, integrity, hard work, education, and family.
Okay, we have a question from G6, and he asked Audrey.
5 pillars of money. Audrey's 5 pillars of money is applicable to knowledge and professional expertise as well. So I guess Audrey and Gregory can feel free to comment on his statement and elaborate further on how Audrey's sharing can be applicable in the professional realm. Yeah, so I think Audrey will be taking some time to respond to that.
And back to the values question between the East and the West, Gregory's reply was, today those traditional values has been under attack, whether it's in the West or the East, the hard work, the integrity, and it's now a me. I remember this me slogan from Times Magazine years ago. So it's about me, self-entitled philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're living in the me generation right now, right?
Yeah,
Everything is I,
I
about myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Gregory also says Westerners perhaps more individualistic, Asians more team-oriented. It's interesting that he is a Westerner, but he prefers the Asian approach. I mean, Gregory's life story is so interesting as you've heard it. So yes, I think he'll be able to provide the best perspectives from both worlds.
Yeah, so if you want to find out more about what they really mean by all their answers, you can really pick up the book from Gregory, Be a Better Dad Today, and also join, if you have kids from 13 to 18 years old, or even younger and slightly older, you can join Audrey's PlayMoolah's camp that's coming in the holidays. Okay, so Percy, shall we close the session?
Yeah, so feel free, we still have 10 minutes before the end of the live stream, so feel free to keep your questions coming in for Gregory and Audrey. Yeah, but our next live stream will be held next month on 24th November from 8 to 9 p.m. So mark down these dates and the timing. Also, please do follow our social media and share, like, subscribe. Instagram, Facebook, our handles will be revealed in the next slides as well.
Yes, so 24th November is a Wednesday evening, 8 to 9 p.m. Mark down on your calendar. And the topic for our next live stream series is called Passing Down Values Through Digital Means. And it's very exciting. We are going to have likewise the same format. We are going to invite speakers to talk about this very important topic. How do we pass down family and personal values down the generations through digital means?
That's right. And last but not least, your feedback is extremely valuable to us. So if there's any aspects that you enjoyed or that can be improved on in this live stream, please give us your feedback in the feedback form that will also be shown in the next few slides. Or you can also see the feedback form link in the chat box below. So we have now come to the end of our live stream, and thank you so much for spending your Saturday morning with us, and we hope to see you at our next session.
So stay safe and have a great weekend.